Hey everybody, this is Joe Joseph, and this is the DailySheeple.com's Daily News Brief. I want to start off today with a Sheeple article by Melissa Dykes that talks about Drudge. Matt Drudge going off on the GOP via his Twitter account. This is what we need, folks. Here in the United States, we need a lot more accountability, and oftentimes it only takes one person to really kick things off or kick things into gear or garner a response. And it doesn't always have to be somebody that is out there in the public eye all the time, or a superstar, or somebody from Hollywood, or even a guy like Matt Drudge. It can be you, it can be me, it can be anybody. Anybody out there can make some unbelievable change that can alter the course of history as we trudge ever forward. But Melissa writes, basically highlights these series of Twitter posts by Matt Drudge. It's very interesting. No discussion on tax cuts. Republican Party should be sued for fraud. That's what Matt Drudge says. And honestly, why not? In a day of frivolous litigation and tort, why not sue the Republican Party for failing to come through on what they said they were going to do thus far? Very interesting. It says in a series of pissed off tweets, Matt Drudge of the Drudge Report took Republicans to task by failing to repeal Obamacare, as has been promised now for years. This is what he sent out. Quote, "No Obamacare repeal, tax cuts, but Republicans vow to shut Warren. Only know how to be opposition, not lead. Danger." Notice what he just said there. He said that, yeah, they'll shut off Warren, and they're referring to how they said Warren violated the rules of the Senate floor, and they didn't allow her to get what she wanted to say out any further. Now, they can do that to Warren, they say, or Matt Drudge says, but when it comes to actually following through with real things, things of merit, things that have been promised, like tax cuts, like Obamacare repeal, they just don't follow through because they're addicted to money. They've even come out and said it themselves. Well, if we repeal it, why then that would amount to all this money. I think it's like 1 trillion over 10 years that they expect to take in via taxes that were enacted via Obamacare. They don't want to lose that money. See, once taxes are enacted, they're very, very hard to get rid of. Very hard to get rid of. You very seldomly, if ever, see a tax cut happen or a repeal of a tax happen. They may change the language a little bit or maybe divert the purpose to something a little more socially acceptable. But you don't ever see them get rid of it. That just doesn't happen. A great example of that is on your telephone bill. Up until recently, you used to have a tax that was put in place to fund the Spanish-American War. As a matter of fact, I think it's still there now. They just renamed it. But I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Once you put that's why it's so important that we be very careful about what kind of taxes we put in place. Because once they're there, they're there. They're never going away. Ask the people of Europe. You know, we think we have it bad here in the United States, and we do. By our standards, absolutely. By European standards, they have our level of taxes, plus they have VAT. Value-added tax. If you don't know what value-added tax is, all of us in America, let me explain it to you. So value-added tax works like this. You want to make a T-shirt. Well, that T-shirt requires material. Requires cotton. It might require some bleach. All of the material needed to make that T-shirt all gets taxed at a percentage. In this case, we'll just go with 20%. So when you buy the cotton for the T-shirt, it's taxed at 20%. When you get the bleach to bleach the cotton, that's taxed at 20%. Then you make the T-shirt. Okay, let's say it's a white T-shirt, and you sell it to a distributor. When you sell it to the distributor, there's a 20% tax on it. When the distributor distributes it to, say, a mom and pop retailer, there's a 20% tax on it. And when that retailer sells it, there's sales tax. So you see how many times it gets taxed. Well, over in Europe, over in Canada, they have VAT. It's horribly oppressive. Horribly oppressive. You know, and what we really have here is the never-ending pickpocketing of everybody. It's legalized theft. And to what purpose? To what purpose? You know, you could say, well, everything here, we do this for the common good. And there are some things, don't get me wrong, where we do some good. You know, whether it's building roads or infrastructure, although we don't do a good job at it, as they are crumbling and falling into rivers and killing people. But things like, for example, the Department of Education, since it's been enacted, since it's been put into place, we've seen test scores plummet. We've seen children ill-prepared to deal with real-life situations because they get sold a cookie-cutter curriculum that may not help them. Not to mention the fact that we snuff out our really, truly brilliant people, our Teslas and our Edisons, because we shut them off to the love of learning, because we make them and force them do things that their brain isn't naturally wired for. That's not to say that there aren't some skills, some basic skills that they need to have, of course. However, why try and teach somebody civics or go math intensive if they may be arts or may have an affinity for literature? Why not push them down that road? Maybe they become the next generation journalists of our day. You don't know. But you go to where they're wired, not for some kind of USDA authorized curriculum so that they can go down the assembly line, get USDA stamped on their ass, and get put into the slave population. That's not what we want. That's what's caused us to be where we are today. Oh, that's publicly funded. That, my friends, is what your tax dollars pay for. And let's be real. They knew well ahead of time that they needed to put a structure like this into place because they knew that the dollar was devaluing rapidly and that soon women were going to have to go to work. You're going to have a man and a woman working. What are we going to do with the kids? Oh, well, not only can we provide childcare for your children, but also we can indoctrinate them the way that we want to indoctrinate them and raise them the way that we want to raise them, because we've now forced you to go down this road to maintain a level of living and sustenance that you don't want to erode. So now, both of you have to work. Or perhaps dad has to work 2 and 3 jobs. That's the issue. That's the issue. And now we have children and a society that has really, over the course of the last 60 years, gone down the toilet. Tax funding at work. How much do we have to flush down the toilet before we cut our losses and run? And that's not to say you can't have a public school structure. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that we shouldn't have government dealing with that and turning your kids into spies and everything else, or sending them home, perhaps with laptops that spy on your family activities. And then, there's other repercussions. So, there is so many reasons why government should not be involved. Hey, let's have a tax cut. Let's do away with these unconstitutional cabinet level positions in organizations within government. Department of Education, Department of Energy. We don't need Department of Energy. Get out of here. The Department of the Interior, states can handle that. Why do we need a federal government that handles that? Look at what the BLM has done. Yeah, that's really good tax dollar vanguarding and stewardship. And unconstitutional to say the least. There's absolutely no basis for it outside of the Common Good Clause or something like that. I can't remember what it is. Common welfare, or that's basically how they use it. They take one sentence. It's the same thing that a lot of mainstream religion does is they take one verse out of a Bible and they use it and manipulate it for their own doing, for their own bidding, when in reality it has nothing to do with what they say it does. Just like the Constitution, they'll utilize one sentence out of that whole thing and say, oh, well, see, it says this, therefore we must. No, that's not how it's supposed to work. So bravo to Matt Drudge for trying to hold President Trump's feet to the fire with regards to some of these promises that now they're having cold feet on because, God forbid, they lose out on tax money. Get out of here. Unbelievable. And that's what the Associated Press is reporting. GOP dilemma on health law and taxes, to repeal or not to repeal. There should be no question. There should be absolutely no question. You said that you would repeal it within the first 100 days of your presidency. Let's go. But as Associated Press points out, it's a $1 trillion dilemma because this current law funds close to $1.1 trillion. That's a 10-year price tag the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office puts on revenue the government would lose if taxes on wealthy people and the insurance and pharmaceutical industries and others, and others, that's you, are eliminated. They don't want to say it, and others. I love how they cherry pick on the wealthy, the insurance and pharmaceutical industries. Well, great. Then you know what? Repeal it with the exception of. That's fine. I mean, come on, they could do this. Republicans and President Donald Trump have been edging away from their promise to quickly eliminate Obama's entire law. Still, annulling its taxes would be a partial victory and is irresistible for many GOP lawmakers and the conservative voters at the core of their support. Jim Jordan of Ohio, he says we should do a full repeal. He's a Republican representative. And he says, and full repeal means not taking the taxes from people. Duh. I mean, let's just give it back. Do we really need this? Oh, well, these civil servants are going to lose their jobs. Guess what? It happens. It happens to the most devoted, the most illustrious employee you might have at your company. If you don't have the money to pay them, they got to go. It's the way it is. That's the way business operates. Unfortunately, it's unbelievable. So, yeah, we have a lot of civil servants that may have to find jobs in the private sector if this happens. Now, I will tell you that if you have significant tax cuts, you're going to put significantly more in the people's wallet, which is going to lead to more spending, which is going to lead to a more robust economy. That's what happens. Okay, but it has to be something quantifiable. It can't be a tax cut that says, oh, we put $30 a paycheck in your wallet. Ooh, don't spend it all in one place. You know, you can't. I just went to buy Chinese for my family the other day. Okay? And it used to be that Chinese and, say, like fast food were quasi-affordable. But it's not anymore. It's not anymore. I think it was like $62 for Chinese food for my family. If I go to McDonald's or something like that, and I don't like going to McDonald's, but the few times I do, it ends up being like $40. It didn't used to be that way. But it's okay, right? I put $30 in my paycheck. I can't even get McDonald's for my family with that. It has to be something significant. Something that's going to really rock the core of the government. Something that will not only give you a tax cut, but perhaps elevate the salaries. And for once, maybe we'll see an increase in cost of living or quality of life and a decrease in cost of living. I don't know. But it needs to be something a little more quantifiable. Something perhaps like do away with Social Security. Why is that even there? Pay people their money back. If they want it and you're before a certain age, let's say you're 50 years old or younger, you can get a payout. Here's your payout. This is what you paid into it. Go ahead and do what you want with it. Some people might want to put it in gold and silver. Some people might want to invest it in the stock market. Some people may not feel comfortable with the fact that it's just an IOU and it's instantly spent as soon as it goes into the safe deposit box of the Social Security Administration. You know, these are things that that people should have a say in, more of a say in, that doesn't happen. And instead, what happens is you have a government organization that is extremely bloated. It's inefficient. And as a result, it doesn't pay out the way it says it was supposed to. It doesn't work the way it says it's supposed to. It is insolvent. If you take a look at the unfunded liabilities of government, you find out that Social Security is sorely underfunded. So what do? Well, you're going to have to either increase the retirement age, which already sits at 65 or 67. I can't remember what it is, and make it 70. Make it 72. They say people live longer. Okay. People work longer. It's just the way it is. You know, all the entitlement programs. We got to start rolling back entitlement programs. Look, it's crazy because we pay into these things, and when you go to draw on them, you get a ration of poop. You know, you get a ration of poop. Welfare. How about we make it work fair? Can we make it work fair? Go to work. If you're going to get welfare, go clean the side of the highways. You know, take part in an infrastructure project. You know, put a time limit on it. These are all things that you can do. You know, put them to school. Have them retrained. Have people retrained. Start doing that. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do to really change things. But one thing that we don't need is so many government employees. We just don't need it. There are so many unconstitutional offices. EPA, wrong. No bueno. That's the state's role. There are so many things that fall to the states that are falling to the federal government now. We don't need this. And that's, of course, not advocating for some Gestapo police state or some Gestapo state structure at the state level. But I mean, come on. Let's let it work the way it's supposed to work. Let's give it a chance. We don't even do that. And as a result, you have extreme overreaches of federal power. President Trump, you know, everybody's pushing and touting the Trump, getting on the Trump train, buying into the cult of personality of Donald Trump. He just signed 3 executive orders giving the police a lot more power, and nobody's paying attention to it. He's signing these orders to tackle public safety moments after he swears in Jeff Sessions. Because Jeff Sessions, you gotta remember, he doesn't play softball. He loves the police and the police state. This is what we've got going on. And look at, this is what these do. These executive orders, according to The Independent, define new federal crimes and increase penalties for existing federal crimes in order to prevent violence against state and federal police. That's right. Don't resist. Don't resist. Well, now, even if you don't resist, because we've seen many a video, right, where they say you resist and then they beat the snot out of you. Well, now, my friends, now there's increased penalties and new federal crimes that come along with assaulting a police officer. And you don't even have to do it. This is the stuff that they take advantage of. All of the killing of police officers is a direct result of the fact that police have been way too heavy-handed for way too long. That the police state has gone and taken advantage of way too many things. Oh, this is going to work. Again, this is just more divide and conquer, and this is more of a way to get the populace at each other's throats. Stop and frisk. Can't wait for the nationwide stop and frisk, and you know he's coming for that too. I mean, these are all things that we have to consider, folks, that comes along with the tax cuts that haven't happened yet, and Obamacare repeal that won't happen. I mean, hasn't happened yet. But that's okay. Let them throw you crumbs, because that's what happens. And a lot of people, oh, you know, hey, the Daily Sheeple, wah. Oh, yeah, you know, we're so leftist and anti-Trump and everything else. No, we're not. We just don't have the blinders on, you see. We know that there's truth everywhere out there. It doesn't matter if it's left or right or up or down. It doesn't matter if it's rich or poor or black or white. It doesn't matter about any of that. The truth is the truth at the end of the day, folks. And it's our job at thedailysheeple.com to report it, because that's what we do. We don't take sides. Journalists aren't supposed to do that. Any people that expect to have that touchy-feely, happy, fun, good time feeling when you read an article or when you hear a radio broadcast, or even see a daily news brief. That's not what it's about. It's about real information that you can use for yourselves and for your families that give you the real meat and potatoes so you can make the right decisions instead of the wrong ones. That's what it's all about. I'm Joe Joseph. This was the DailySheeple.com's Daily News Brief. Subscribe to our newsletter over at thedailysheeple.com and subscribe to this YouTube channel today. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.